Welcome to Mixtape Videos. Today we're ranking the top 10 most underrated defenders in the NBA. There are several players who have the reputation for being lockdown defenders, but many players who rank high defensively are never mentioned in that list, despite having spectacular defensive numbers. Well, this is their time to shine because we'll be putting the spotlight on them and showing why they should also have the reputation for being great defenders. Now, due to the ever-changing nature of the NBA, this list will cover players and stats in the 2014-2015 NBA season. Perhaps we'll do another edition for next year. Okay, let's get started. Number 10, Evan Turner. Overall, Evan Turner isn't a spectacular defender, though he does hold his opponents to 2.8% lower than their average. But put him on the perimeter, and it's game over. Beyond 15 feet, his opponents shoot 5.2% lower than their average. On three-pointers, his opponents shoot 8.1% lower than their average. That's incredible! He's number one in pick-and-roll on-ball defense. His opponents shoot less than 32% in those situations, turn the ball over 24% of the time, and score on only 28.2% of those possessions. He's fairly mediocre closer to the basket, but on the outside possessions, he's a beast defensively. Number 9, Kyle Korver. No, Kyle Korver is no lockdown defender, but he's better than probably most fans think. Given his reputation as a three-point specialist and his unathletic build, the eye test might lead you to believe that he's the kind of guy you can run through on offense. However, that's not necessarily the case. Overall, players Korver guards shoot an average of 42.7%, which is 1.2% less than their average. When guarding a player beyond 15 feet, his man shoots 2 percentage points lower than his average. 2% might not seem like a lot, but when you compare him to the average NBA player, it's pretty impressive. He's also a very good off-ball defender, ranking number 4 in off-screen defense. No matter where Korver is on the court, he holds his opponent below his shooting percentage, which is not an easy thing to do. Even some of the best defenders have one weak spot. He's not going to shut anyone down, but they're also not going to go off on him either. Number 8, Monta Ellis. Ellis is another guy that has a bad reputation as a defender. In his earlier years, he gambled too much defensively, meaning that he got a lot of steals, but he also gave up a lot of open baskets. He's learned his lesson though, and has become a very capable defender, holding his opponents to nearly 4 percentage points lower than their shooting average. He's also a good one-on-one defender, where opponents shoot just 35.8% against him and turn the ball over 14% of the time, which is just mind-blowing. He's still averaging 2 steals and is in the top half of the league in pick-and-roll defense, so it's safe to say that he's evolved as a player from just a streaky scorer to an all-around scorer and defender who can hold his own. Number 7, Jeff Teague. With another Hawks player on this list, you're starting to see why they've been so successful this year. Defense. Jeff Teague is more than a capable defender, he's a terrific defender, though he never gets mentioned as such. Like Monta Ellis, Teague is high in steals and pick-and-roll defense and holds his opponent to 4 percentage points lower than their average. But Teague takes it to another level. Pretty much no matter where he is on the court, he's going to slow his man down. On 2-point defense, their shooting percentage goes down by 2.4%. On 3-point defense, their shooting percentage goes down by 2.8%. Greater than 15 feet from the basket, it goes down by 3.3%. Opponents are shooting only 39.1% against Teague. Now, once his opponent gets in the lane, he's not much help, but they rarely get there. Number 6, LaMarcus Aldridge. By now, most people have recognized that LaMarcus Aldridge is one of the best power forwards in the league, both as a deadly scorer and a great rebounder. What gets overlooked, though, is his defense. In the post, his opponents are shooting only 35.5%. If he gets stuck on an island, he's not bad either, holding opponents to 33.9% shooting on isolation plays. On shots 10 feet or less from the basket, opponents are shooting about 5% lower than their average. When guarding the pick and roll, Aldridge is very effective in defending the roll man, allowing only 35.8% shooting in those situations and committing a foul only 2% of the time. Number 5. Stephen Curry. Everyone knows that Steph Curry leads the league in steals and that he's one of the best scorers in the game, if not the best. But his defensive numbers are pretty crazy. He's 12th in defensive rating, and that number goes up to 4th in clutch time situations. Overall, his opponents are shooting 38.9%, which is 4.4% lower than their average. And for his size, he's a very good interior defender. His opponents are shooting 43.4% at the rim, which is better than Dwight Howard, Roy Hibbert, and even Anthony Davis. And going back to pick and roll defense, this is a pick and roll league nowadays after all, he forces a turnover on 17% of those possessions. Number 4. DeMarcus Cousins. Anytime DeMarcus Cousins' name is brought up, it's commonly in the context of so-called trouble players with loads of potential. Well, forget about potential, Cousins is performing, especially defensively. Around 66% of his defensive possessions come within 10 feet or less of the basket. From that range, players are shooting nearly 6% lower than their average. Closer to the rim, less than 6 feet out, opponents are shooting 8% lower than their average. Even if he's guarding a perimeter shooting big man, he holds his opponents to 35% shooting from distances greater than 15 feet. On top of that, he's averaging nearly 2 blocks per game. Yes, Cousins still has a lot of potential, but he's no building project. He's already performing at a high level. Number 3. Rudy Gobert. At this point, we're getting to the guys that are severely underrated defenders, and Rudy Gobert definitely fits into that category. He's over 7 feet tall, so he's got a lot of length to work with, and he uses it very well, holding opponents to below 40% shooting. Around the basket, you might as well not even try. Within 6 feet of the basket, Gobert's opponents are shooting only 43%. That's 16% lower than their average. On shots from 10 feet or less, his opponent's shooting percentage goes down by nearly 13%. Those numbers are incredible. He's 4th in blocks, 3rd in opponent field goal percentage at the rim, and is 2nd in post-up defense. And this is just his first year. It's hard to stand out on a losing team, and being in Utah doesn't help his popularity, but this guy is a crazy good defensive player. Number 2. Andre Roberson. Offensively, Roberson doesn't add much. On the other end of the court, however, he's a lockdown, nothing easy allowed defender. Against Roberson, players are shooting only 36.2%. From the three-point line, he holds his opponents to 25.3% shooting. That's crazy! The majority of his opponents' shots come from 15 feet and greater, and on those shots, they're making them at a rate of just 27.9%. 27%! He's also a very good off-the-ball defender. In off-screen defense, when his player is coming off a screen away from the ball, his opponents shoot just 32.6%. Westbrook and Ibaka get most of the limelight defensively, but Roberson is where it all starts. Number 1. Draymond Green. You may have heard about Draymond Green's defense and how underrated it is. You might have thought, the guy is 6'7" playing power forward. He's going to get torched on defense. Actually, that couldn't be further from the truth. And yes, he is severely underrated defensively. In just about any defensive category you can find, Draymond Green is top 10 in nearly all of them. Defensive rating, 5th. Defensive rating in clutch time, 8th. Spot-up defense, 2nd, where opponents shoot 29.1%. Post-up defense, 8th, where opponents shoot 41.6%. Isolation defense, 8th, where opponents shoot 27.5%. He's also averaging 1.5 steals and 1.4 blocks. Opponents are shooting an average of just 39.3% against him, which is impressive since the guys he guards usually shoot an average of nearly 46%. Beyond 10 feet, his opponent's shooting percentage goes down by 8.4%. Beyond 15 feet, their shooting percentage goes down to 31.4%. Say what you want about his height, but he doesn't let it affect his defense in any way. So those are the top 10 most underrated defenders for the 2014-2015 season. Were you surprised by someone on our list? Who do you think is underrated defensively? Don't forget to subscribe for more top 10s and mixtapes, follow us on Twitter, and visit our website to vote on video ideas or to leave your own suggestion.